The storm broke over US 395 like a zipper, and my camper van shuddered as headwinds shoved the awning arms. At 2:08 a.m., the fuel light blinked. The next exit promised a single station. Its canopy glowed a pale ring that held the rain like glass. As I rolled beneath it, the engine idle smoothed from coughs to a steady hum, like the van exhaled. The pump screens were dark, no cashier in the booth. Yet an intercom crackled above me. Park centered under the lights. The voice was flat, like a reading. I looked for a speaker and saw only ceiling panels. I swiped my card. The reader woke and approved without a zip code. Rain rattled the canopy. Outside the circle, the storm roared. When I stepped 1 foot past the yellow line, the van coughed and the dash died. I stepped back under the ring and the gauges flicked alive, needles stacking where they should. "Stay under the canopy," the intercom said. "Do not leave your headlights." I hadn't turned them on. They were off. Still, a pale beam pushed out and lit the rain just past the pumps, making a clean silver wall. A sedan limped in from the highway, hazards clicking. It died the moment the hood crossed the boundary. The driver, a woman in a sweatshirt, tried the key twice, then looked at me, both hands lifted. The intercom whispered, "Center the vehicles, do not cross the paint." She and I stood there like chapel statues, each in our own quadrant of light. My phone had bars, but every call returned to the station's own number. The receipt printer chattered by itself and spat a strip stamped 021403 with no amount. I pocketed it without knowing why. The air smelled like wires and wet pine. The intercom said, "Remain." At 2:17 a.m., the ring pulsed. The woman mouthed, "Help," then pointed at her fuel door. Her engine stayed dead, but when she rolled her sedan to the exact center, her dome light came on and the radio whispered static like bees. I tried again to call 911. The phone chirped, connected, and played back my own voice with a half-second delay. "There's a problem at the station." Then the intercom overrode. "Remain under the canopy." A shadow crossed the far lane, a man's outline in a cap. He moved against the rain, dry while everything else was soaked. He didn't look at us. He pointed at the yellow paint, then lifted one hand to the ceiling and vanished between pumps like he stepped through a hatch. The ring brightened. My van's OBD scanner, plugged in from a check engine light, chirped and graphed the alternator voltage at a clean 14.2. The moment I rolled a foot beyond the paint, it flatlined to 9.0. The scanner beeped and the dash died. I rolled back and everything smoothed, like a finger on a turntable letting go. At 2:21, the intercom repeated, "Center and remain." Lightning walked the hills. Then, as if someone flicked a breaker, the entire canopy went dark. The storm crashed over us. The sedan's hazard rhythm slowed. The world outside the pumps swallowed the lot in noise. When the lights jolted back, the woman's car restarted and idled like new. Mine too. The intercom whispered, "Proceed," and a receipt curled out with 22311 and an address that didn't match the highway, mile markers from counties over. In daylight, a mechanic read my OBD logs and tapped the plateau. "Looks like a lab supply," he said. "Perfect voltage in one block, noise everywhere else." I called the number on the receipt. The county said the station burned down in 2012. I keep that strip in my ashtray, creased where my thumb tests if the ink will smudge. Tonight. We pulled into Site 14 at Timberline Campground because the host said the wind missed that bend. At 1:03 a.m., the rain slackened to mist. The trees clicked and reset. I taped a note on the door for any ranger. 2 in van, dog inside, window cracked. Then killed the lantern and let the roof noise fade. 9 minutes later, 3 knuckles tapped the metal in a slow, spaced rhythm. Talk, talk, talk. The dog didn't bark. He lifted his head once and stared at the door. The peephole was fogged from our breath. The world outside was a smear of gray. At 1:12, the same 3 knocks. I checked the lock, then opened my voice recorder and set the phone by the handle. The rain wet the awning seam enough to creak and fall in thin strings. I whispered the time, felt stupid, and whispered it again. 1:12. The third round came at 1:21, identical pacing, identical weight. I mouthed to Jess, "Bear?" and she shook her head once. We had seen bear prints before, bears test and rip. Someone out there was polite. I dropped a line of flour across the door lip and under the step. Cheap track trap, a trick from a trail crew friend. Then we waited, counting along with the roof. When 1:30 came, the knocks landed again. Talk, 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 measured as a metronome. I opened fast on the third knock and threw the headlamp beam waist high. Rain, trees, our own chairs, the note taped to the door plastic. The flower line looked like a little river delta that had never been stepped through. No tracks, no prints, not even smears from the rain. I shut the door and listened again. The dog curled and hid his nose under his tail as if to block sound we could not hear. I started the voice memo a second time and spoke the times out loud, forcing myself to say the numbers. At 1:39, the knocks came again. Same spacing, same weight. The recorder caught them clean. I played them back and heard my own whispering layered under the taps like I had already rehearsed the night. I texted the camp host. No bars. I tried the weather radio just to hear a human voice. It read an alert for a different county and then fell back to hiss. Jess squeezed my wrist and mouthed, 2 more rounds, then you look. At 1:48, I opened early, and the van door met pressure from the other side. Not a person's weight, just presence. Like the air was thicker there. The hinges groaned. Water dripped from the gasket. The flower remained untouched. I closed it and set my phone to chime at 1:57. The chime and the knocks landed together. 3 perfect beats. I took a photo of the empty step to pair with the sound. Then I skipped the next round and waited for the one after, counting breaths in tens to kill the urge to open early. When the time came, the taps hit in the same slow cadence and stopped as if a timer had lapsed. At dawn, the host found us already waiting at his cart. I played the memo. He stared at the waveform spikes and wrote the times on a scrap. Site 14 does this, he said finally. Before the flood, it used to be 17. We renumbered. He drew a little map with the old loop line that skimmed the back of our pad like a ghost trail. I dusted the step. No prints. I pulled the note down. The tape peeled with a wet sigh. Back home, I checked the audio's metadata and felt my stomach drop. Every clip timestamp was exactly 9 minutes apart, but the file creation times stacked at once. 1:57. It was like the phone had saved the whole pattern in a single minute, and only the labels remembered the night. We waited.